1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, good morning, guys. I'm James Hake, as you know, of the Hake Report, live in the fourth hour of Jesse Lee Peterson's stream. Thank you, Jesse. On YouTube, Periscope, and D Live, and the audio stream on jlptalk.com. jlptalk.com. Redirects to the radio show page on jesseleepeterson.com's website. Catch the recordings of Hake on thehakereport.com/podcast. And yes, you may have heard Jesse Lee Peterson at the end of his show talking about, yes, James cut his hair, or got his hair cut. Yeah, I cut my hair. I've been cutting my own hair pretty much ever since I moved out of my parents' house, which I moved out of my parents' house like 2 or 3 times. My roommates kept on getting engaged, so I would move back home or move out, you know. Anyways, my mother used to cut all of our hair, meaning my dad and my brother's hair and mine. My dad was in the Air Force, so she cut his hair. They were just regular white people. White couple, living modestly. And speaking of exercise, I saw somebody said, "Did James do a few curls?" I'm not going to tell you, but I used to have really good exercise habits. I used to run and do like all those push-ups and sit-ups, crunches, whatever, pull-ups. I never really got into the weightlifting thing, a little, but not really. I was forced to run as a kid, homeschooled in 3rd grade. My dad got me up every morning. I had to go run with him, or maybe it's 6th grade. Both those years I was homeschooled. Had to go run. When I was going to public school the rest of the years, I had to run after school. Sometimes I would do it on my own, self-motivated, but mostly I was kind of forced by my dad, and all my siblings ran too. And I think his dad ran. Meaning like cross country, distance running. 2 miles, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Anyways, and my oldest brother had us doing exercises. So I was like a pretty decent at push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups as a kid. Like I did a lot. Because my brother had us doing it every day. Like it was the summer routine. He had it mapped out. We would go to bed by 9 p.m., but we would always do those, however many push-ups, however many sit-ups, however many pull-ups. It was just interesting. And then sometimes we would set up 2 chairs and do dips. That's when you go like that. You lift yourself up like that. Some of you guys already know that stuff. So anyways, I continued that into college, after college, even though I ran and redshirted in cross country. Didn't really run track. I redshirted in track. Redshirted meaning I didn't actually compete. But I competed in cross country 2 years. My first year in Pasadena City College, a community college, and then my first year at Azusa Pacific University, a wannabe Christian school, a liberal Christian school. It was kind of fun, and that running type of thing kind of builds discipline, or at least a mental, physical imitation of discipline. And so I felt that it was good for me. But I kind of stuck with it when I started to work. And as I got into work, I got more and more and more into work, working like a white man, working like long hours. But I kind of kept up the exercise, and then I stopped. I stopped around the time that I kind of, like, my previous job, the business was kind of failing, to be honest. And I was trying to help make it work, at least hold up my end for the customer's sake. I worked in designing custom cabinets and trying to project manage. And then when that got to be like way too much, the day that I worked 7 days, I had never worked 7 days. I didn't work Sundays. But one day I worked Sunday. But then I cut out to go to church. And then as I was going back to work, I'd pull like an all-nighter. As I was going back to work, I got a call from Jesse. You want to be the producer? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really thinking about that. And within a few days, I decided to work for Bond. And I had it so that I was kind of like Jesse, where I would get up without any alarm at like 3:45 in the morning, every morning, 3:45, so that I could get into work, listen to the radio show when I was at my previous job. And even then, like, when I started getting up at 3:45 in the morning to come up over here, drive over here from where I was living. And then, like, as the pressure came up, I started to set an alarm. So now I have an alarm at 3:45, 4, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, 5 o'clock, 5:15. And by 5:15, I have to be out. I have that many alarms. And sometimes I have earlier alarms if I need to get up even earlier. But, like, I started pouring myself into my work. And then there was a flood at Bond. Some of you guys may remember 2015 or so. I don't remember. 2014 maybe, October or so. And for a while, we weren't able to have church services here in the building. And at that point, I had a rigorous coworker who was really just kind of making stuff happen, refurbishing the place. We did it pretty much all in-house, by the way. Saved a lot of money by doing that. Some of our own guys, including Bill, the engineer, he black, built that stage that you guys see for church and for the Fallen State. They built that. Nice, huh? Didn't have to contract that out or anything. Cool. But I was involved in like going to pick up stuff, Craigslist, all that stuff. IKEA sometimes. And so I would do that instead of prepping for the show. So I would get up at 3 a.m. to prep for the show, for the radio show. And so like I got into the habit of not exercising consistently or necessarily showering consistently. I showered, but anyways, don't want to get into too much information. But yeah, so now I don't have that discipline anymore of exercising. But I'm getting better. Anyways, got a beta back because of it. And I've never been a particularly flexible person. That's why I try to have good posture to make up for the lack of stretching and exercise. Anyways, guys, I want to talk before I get to your calls. Appreciate you guys on hold, and you can call in 888-775-3773. Hope those side notes were mildly entertaining. Trump derangement syndrome hits the weather community. You heard about this from Nick in the second hour, Jesse's producer, and Hake News, the top of the third hour, and on my show on Sunday. But I just wanted to point out what actually went down and some of the ridiculous quotes that came out from this. Show the, number one, National Weather Service Birmingham had tweeted, quote, Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. This was after Trump had shown that Alabama may be, in some trouble. So just watch out, Alabama. He's looking out for Alabama. But National Weather Service Birmingham tweeted that. They will not see any impacts from Dorian. We repeat, no impacts will be felt across Alabama. The system will be too far east. So then the NOAA statement said, here's the second one. From Wednesday, August 28th through Monday, September 2nd, the information provided by the NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the National Hurricane Center to President Trump and wider public demonstrated the tropical storm force winds from Hurricane Dorian could impact Alabama. This was clearly demonstrated in advisories 15 through 41. Provided a link. The Birmingham National Weather Service's Sunday morning tweet, referring to that one I just showed you, spoke in absolute terms, meaning Dorian will not felt any impacts, right? Absolute terms that were inconsistent with probabilities from the best forecast products available at the time. And the National Weather Service is part of the larger NOAA. So that's funny, right? And now, according to Drudge, here's a headline from AP. Former top officials of the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration are assailing the agency for undermining its weather forecasters as it defends President Donald Trump's statement from days ago that Hurricane Dorian did threaten Alabama. And the NOAA repudiated that tweet that I showed you. So I want to just show you some ridiculous quotes from the intellectuals. And then I will get to your calls. Appreciate you guys. Here's the first quote. This rewriting history to satisfy an ego, referring to Trump, right? That's the popular myth that Trump has his ego, that they don't have an ego. Ridiculous. Diminishes the NOAA. So said Elbert Joe Friday. As I said, not to be confused with Joel Friday. He's not an intellectual. Thank God. Former Republican appointed director of National Weather Service. He said that on Facebook. He told the Associated Press on Saturday, sorry guys, we don't want to get to the point where science is determined by politics rather than science and facts. That is so ridiculous of a statement. And I'm afraid this is an example where this is beginning to occur. And why I am saying this with such scorn and sarcasm is because just think about where science, so-called, has been politicized. We know that science, so-called, is very politicized. Look at this whole man-made climate change conspiracy theory. They're acting like, 97% of scientists agree, climate scientists. There's no such thing as a climate scientist, by the way. It's a physicist. It's all physics. And it refers to like the atmosphere. And so it's not a climate scientist. And it's not really observable because they don't have data from hundreds of years ago. They don't. They don't even have data from 100 years ago, to be honest. At least not reliable data. And so they're making up stuff about this, and they don't know that it's man-made climate change. A whole bunch of them think so. But that just shows you that they're a bunch of liberals. People, these so-called scientists, they're educated, brainwashed in these liberal institutions. Institutions we know have been infiltrated by communists, sympathetic, blah, blah, blah. These guys, if you poll them, they tend to be liberals. They tend to believe in this stuff, and they push the stuff that makes them seem important. If they're not important, if man-made climate change isn't changeable or is actually reversible or is a real thing, then they're suddenly important people. But they're not important people. They're just studying interesting information. It's mildly interesting to intellectuals, right? I'm kind of interested in that stuff, a little. But they're pushing something to make themselves feel important. And not only that, it's also because they get money. They get money when there's a crisis. And they get funded by the government to research and do these experiments and stuff with government-funded stuff, meaning taxpayer-funded, to be honest. Somebody pointed out that it's taxpayer money, meaning we the people have to pay for their vanity projects. Speaking of ego, right? And they accuse Trump of having an ego. And you got to check out more of these quotes. They're rich, melodramatic, apocalyptic, accusing Trump of doing what they're doing. They're the ones politicizing, not Trump. Trump is just looking out for Alabama, right? You guys just get ready, be safe, whatever, be prepared. They use words like heartbreaking, makes the country less safe, politicizing. Let me show you some more of these quotes. I have a bunch for you. Here's the second quote. Quote 2 by W. Craig Fugate. This falls into such uncharted territory, he says. He was Florida's emergency management chief under Republican Governor Jeb Bush, a rhino, and director of the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, under Democrat Barack Obama. You have science organizations putting out statements against their own offices. This is quote 2 if you see it, Joel. For the life of me, I don't think I have ever faced this under President Obama or Governor Bush. Of course not, because those guys don't think for themselves, and they don't really look out for the people. They just be intellectuals. Here's quote 3 from Jane Lubchenco, NOAA administrator during Obama administration. She said, "It is truly sad to see political appointees undermining the superb life-saving work of NOAA's talented and dedicated career servants. Scientific integrity at a science agency matters." They don't care about it. They're just trashing Trump, really. Here's another one. Retired Admiral David Titley, former NOAA operations chief during Obama administration, and a former meteorology professor meaning liberal, at Pennsylvania State University, said NOAA's leadership showed moral cowardice. That's a ridiculous statement. And officials should have resigned instead of issuing the statement. And that Joe Friday guy said he would have quit too. Here's quote 5. They talk about, there's two guys quoted here. Well, Monica Medina, served under Obama and Clinton, said it will make us less safe as a country. And Justin Kenney, communications in the Obama administration, said politicizing weather forecasts, the president puts more people, including first responders, in harm's way. Ridiculous. No evidence to show that. This guy, Bill Reed, at National Hurricane Center, during the George W. Bush administration, said on Facebook, you know, these liberals use Facebook, the NOAA statement showed either an embarrassing lack of understanding of forecasting or a lack of courage on their part by not supporting the people in the field who are actually doing the work. Heartbreaking. Ridiculous. Talk about emotionalizing it. And a retired chief of the center's hurricane forecasting desk, James Franklin, said on Twitter the NOAA statement had thrown the Birmingham office under the bus. Which one are you going to throw under the bus? The president, who's looking out for Alabama? Better safe than sorry, right? Or the Birmingham office, which spoke in like absolute terms, trying to contradict Trump. He said the Birmingham office's tweet was spot on and appropriate response to the president's misleading tweet that morning, whatever. So anyways, Trump tweeted, you know, he's tweeted a lot about this. He tweeted a video of CNN reporter saying Alabama may be hit. And he said, I was with you all the way, Alabama. The fake news media was not. Alabama National Guard said August 30th, Hurricane Dorian is projected to reach southern Alabama by the early part of the week. We are watching closely and #ready to act. Are you? So they just want people to be ready. And Trump was looking out for Alabama. And so Trump also tweeted, and I guess this was Friday, the fake news media was fixated on the fact that I properly said at the beginnings of Hurricane Dorian that in addition to Florida and other states, Alabama may also be grazed or hit. They went crazy, hoping against hope that I made a mistake, which I didn't. Check out maps. And he goes on, this nonsense never happened to another president. 4 days of corrupt reporting, still without an apology. But there are many things that the fake news media has not apologized to me for, like the witch hunt or Spygate. The lamestream media and their Democrat partner should be playing it straight. It would be so much better for our country. He's right. It's just an interesting thing about these intellectuals versus Trump. Leaving them in knots. They don't know what they're talking about. But it's funny because all these hoity-toity, like I said, intellectuals are just so prideful and self-important and over-dramatic, like I said. Ridiculous. Let me get to Neil out of Wisconsin. Neil, how are you? First time caller.
Well, how are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
All right. I was just curious on what do you think of the Federal Reserve and how it plays a part in our society and our money, and do you think it's necessary to have them?
I don't know much about that stuff, but I do know that they are do have, like, let's say too much power, and
Yes.
and I think that Trump is right about them. I love how Trump is going after them, specifically the guy who's in charge of it right now. And it's just a situation that we're in that we should never have gotten in, I don't think, based on what little I know, and I really don't know much. But
you're right, absolutely right about that.
Yeah, it's just I don't think that it's something that we should be supporting. I remember in economics class, my senior year of high school, we always had to learn Alan Greenspan is head of the Federal Reserve. Not that we knew anything about what that meant. I mean, maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, right? But it's crazy.
But if you know anything about the Federal Reserve and exactly how they play a part in how our money is not only issued, but the value of our money. They have complete control. They have complete immunity from our government.
Let me ask you one question. Are they the ones who are telling the bank, the mints, the federal mints, to print money?
That's honestly, I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure they're the ones that print the money. I might be wrong about that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't.
I know they're the ones that have the power to issue the printing of money. Absolutely. That's true.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Neil. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Let's see. Ryan out of Concord, California. Ryan, how are you?
The Hake report, the Hake report, la la la.
Nice.
What up, dude?
Not much. How about you?
All is well, Hake.
Right on.
Hey, so I have a question about the MGTOW kids. You know the MGTOW?
MGTOW, men going their own way. That means usually, from my understanding, it's men who have been burned by women by way of divorce or some other thing. Or else they've researched and looked into it and seen that the laws are against men. And so they've decided not to deal with women at all, at least not in any serious marital way, so they don't get married. Sometimes they have sex with the women, but just leave them alone after that. They've refused to commit, and they just basically are all about protecting themselves and not getting into a traditional relationship.
I mean,
because of feminism and the laws.
Fully, But my question to you is why is it just as bad to give up on life as it is to make life worse? Like, for example, obviously, a boyfriend beating a girlfriend or having sex with her out of wedlock isn't okay, but it seems like the MGTOW people have just given up completely, and it seems like that's just as bad as, doing those wrong things that I just mentioned.
Yeah, because there's always a right thing, and then there's you can go any which way in the wrong. There are many paths to doing the wrong thing. Because, look at these MGTOW guys. They're right that the laws are evil and unjust, and they're right that the feminism... You're making a lot of noise, Ryan. They're wrong that feminism is evil and undermining of men. And then there are men's rights activists, too. But they seem to be softer, tend to be kind of liberals a little bit. They seem to be pro-feminism, but also pro-male-feminism. But anyways, the MGTOW people, it's kind of like a victim mentality. And yes, many of them have suffered an injustice. Many times it's their own fault because they too have been brainwashed by the degenerate, immoral culture to have sex out of wedlock, to get involved with feminists or women that they should not be trusting whatsoever. So in a sense, they get what they deserve, even though it is unjust, an injustice. You can suffer an injustice and still be getting what you deserve because you don't see what you're getting into. But I think that it's definitely an overreaction to stuff. I like what Jesse's approach is, where you date a woman, no sex for 7 years, and then you marry her and call the cops if she ever lays a finger on you, if she ever assaults you. I saw one guy say that he called the cops and he got arrested. Sorry, I guess it's a risk that you may run, but maybe he's not telling the whole... obviously he's not telling the whole story because we don't know what really happened in that situation. Maybe he wasn't perfect, right. Or, you never know. And the cops are kind of taught and brainwashed to be anti-men, to be pro-so-called women. And the judges, too. The crimes that they commit, they're less punished for them and all that stuff. All those things are true.
I guess when I think of the MGTOW, I think of the younger generation, not so much people who are into the whole marriage, divorce, and the laws. For example,
okay.
I went into kind of MGTOW phase myself, and I actually never even knew what MGTOW was. I created it myself.
Yeah.
And after high school, I went to college, and I went to a college 15 minutes away from my brother's college. And I would always visit him at his college, and the college life, partying, drinking, whatnot. And
That's what I've
My
heard.
brother would be able to pull any chick, and so would his friends. And I sat to myself and I said to myself, wow, is this what it's like? And then some of these chicks, you would talk to them after, your friends and your brother has their way with them, and they'd say stuff like, they're treating us horribly, and it's messed up what they're doing, just having sex with us and then leaving. And I thought to myself, wow, well, I wouldn't want to be like that. So for a few years, I had gone into my own cycle where I didn't even hit on women, let alone even compliment them, just because I didn't want to feel like that I was ruining, in a way, something that the women thought was a relationship, which really wasn't.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, I heard Jesse, and I was able to overcome that, and I've been going on dates and whatnot. But it just seems like this younger generation, the more video game generation, they see these, I guess you would call them alpha males in the sense of instinctually, not really alphas for having sex with them out of wedlock, but they're alphas for getting what they want.
Yeah.
And the MGTOW people don't see that as the right way to live. And so all these, a lot of them are young kids and they're gamers. I'm 28, so a lot of these kids are anywhere from like 20 to 30, and they're just staying at home. They're not even going out. They're like that one kid who was on the Fallen State men's forum.
You're talking about
he's a nice kid.
You sound like you're talking more about the incels than necessarily
What's
the
the
MGTOWs.
difference?
What's the difference? MGTOWs, many of them do have sex with women out of wedlock and just use and leave the women.
Huh.
Yeah. Some of them don't, right? But some of them do.
Them going their own way was because they just didn't want to have to deal with women, period. And
They don't.
Incels?
They want to use them. Many of them are willing to use them for their own personal whatever, meaning have sex with them, whatever. Use them like that, but keep a distance so that they're protecting themselves financially and legally and stuff like that. I mean, you're always taking a risk legally when you have sex out of wedlock because she can always accuse you of anything,
right.
And a lot of people just blindly believe it, including the justice system, it seems like. So, but many of the MGTOW people, as opposed to incels can't, in their mind, they cannot get a girlfriend, basically.
I guess I went a little in between that, because when I saw my brother and all his friends scoring chicks and whatnot and doing things the wrong way, not in the ways of the eyes of the Lord, because I had done, I had done stuff in high school with girls and I had done my own thing, but I wasn't like an incel. I wasn't, afraid of women, but I just didn't want to talk to them or deal with them anymore because they had drama. They always brought up stuff. They put your broken relationship stuff on Facebook, and then other people message you, and it's just a whole bunch of drama. And so I guess I went through my phase of that. And I guess my question for you is what advice would you give to young people who are thinking like, most women are, just nasty women, and they just don't want to deal with them anymore?
The only advice I would give is look at yourself. Look at yourself. Because you're not wrong about most women are nasty, but you got to look at yourself and fix yourself, and because otherwise you're just wasting your life looking at somebody else's wrongs, which a lot of people do. That's all I would.
Yeah, but then when you go on another date and you see signs of the same signs you see as somebody before, and that makes you uncomfortable, do you just deal with the uncomfortability and just keep trying until you find one? Or like what would you give advice to somebody who's trying to like go back out there on the scene?
That one, I don't have any advice for anybody on that. Because, I would have to actually live that. So I don't have any advice for it. Appreciate it, Ryan.
All good. Yeah. Talk to you later, James.
All right. Take care. Speaking of this attack on men, I, for one, and I wonder if any of you guys was not excited about all these liberal males, beta males, right, accused by hashtag Me Too. You remember in 2017, the hashtag Me Too movement and hashtag Time's Up so-called movement promoted big time by the media, kind of like Bring Back Our Girls and all those other Black Lives Matter and Women's March, all those things promoted big time by the children of the lie, the media. Well, a lot of so-called, conservatives and even real conservatives got kind of overexcited about these things. I didn't. I just wasn't interested. But something interesting, actual balance has come to the forefront. Not New York Post, page 6, it kind of looks like New York Post. Drudge reports Weinstein accuser sent affectionate emails after alleged sex attack. This is partly why I just don't get into it, because I don't know what the actual truth is. Page 6 reports, a Harvey Weinstein accuser, and I don't have any pictures of this stuff, so don't worry, sent the disgraced producer, this is, like I said, page 6's words for a disgraced producer, hundreds of affectionate messages, including one that said, "I'm thinking about you," just a day after he allegedly raped her, according to emails obtained by the media. Emails from this accuser to Harvey Weinstein over the past 9 years or so. Alexandra Canosa, some of these loving quotes from the accuser to Harvey Weinstein, who I'm no fan of. He puts out movies. He puts out like Tarantino movies and stuff. Alexandra Canosa, who's suing Weinstein in Manhattan federal court, wrote him the 2010 missive along with "Miss You Too, love to you and the girls." Presumably his daughters, I don't know, maybe. In early 2011, fewer than 2 weeks after she claims he forced her to perform a filthy sex act on him. So the emails show. Here's another one. January 30th, 2013, 3 years later. She's still into him in some way or another, right? Canosa, Alexandra Canosa, who worked at the Weinstein Company for a decade and produced some Netflix series, even addressed the fallen Hollywood heavyweight with the greeting, "Hi, love." She said, wrote, right? She didn't say it. She wrote it in an email. "You have been my mentor and friend for many years and now have never failed to give me the right advice. I am trying to figure out what my next step should be for my career as a whole, and I trust your guidance completely," she wrote. Sounds like a lot of these women that loved Harvey Weinstein for his advice on their careers. Canosa signed that message, "Love, Allie." Her name is Alexandra. She called herself Allie. Canosa, who claims Weinstein repeatedly attacked her from 2010 through 2017. I was about to say, why would you allow yourself to be quote-unquote victimized for 8 years, 2010 through 2017? She also sent him a condolence message in January 2017 after his mom died. "I know how much she meant to you and how deeply loved and respected she was, and I can only imagine how proud she must have been all of you created and contributed to throughout your life," she wrote. And she signed the message, "Warmest, Allie." Isn't that interesting that he was so close to his mother, according to her? Interesting. Because Jesse talks about how guys that are really into women and sex, and apparently this guy was into women and sex, are really hate their mothers. And when you're close to your mother, that usually indicates that you hate her. So Canosa, who is suing Weinstein for unspecified damages, tried to keep the messages under wraps and blasted him for refusing to agree to her request. Weinstein and his counsel are trying to manipulate and misuse these emails out of context to taint the jury pool by creating a false impression that there was a consensual sexual relationship when there was only a consensual business relationship. Yeah, right. Canosa lawyer Jeremy Hellman wrote in a August 21st letter to the judge, "It's not that's more than a consensual business relationship. I don't know about sexual relationship, but it was very friendly. It's more than just, I don't know, it's partly why there's an issue with women in the workplace, because this type of stuff happens." Weinstein is 67 years old. Dang. He faces life in prison if convicted of predatory sexual assault in the alleged rape of a longtime so-called lover who has not been publicly identified. So we don't know if it's this Angela Canosa woman. What's her name? Alexandra Canosa woman. I don't think it's her. She's just suing him. This is not the criminal complaint. But in 2013, he allegedly sexually assaulted some unidentified woman. So why doesn't he remain unidentified? Because the media likes to identify the accused when it's a man. and an alleged sex attack on the production assistant Mimi Haleyi in 2006. So supposedly he sexually attacked some production assistant woman in 2006. And according to Drudge, there are other things that are coming out. Previously unknown sources are coming out in a new book about Weinstein. And his brother wrote to him, pleading with him to get help about the victims and stuff like that. So there's like rumors and all this madness going on. And he apparently was really into sex. In short, and then I will get to calls, as Jesse Lee Peterson says, which I gotta lean on him on this, is right. Men are sex addicts and the women are sex dealers. And so these men are surrendering their natural and worldly power, because this man had power and they're surrendering their authority, their natural authority. Because this guy, he was kind of on top of the Hollywood world. Whatever you think of the Hollywood world, right? It's filthy, disgusting, right? True. But he was on top of that world, loved by Oprah and Hillary Clinton and all these people. And loved by all these women who he's helped their careers. Now he's being toppled. It kind of reminds me of how they toppled Bill O'Reilly, who I think was not as into sex as this guy. But Bill O'Reilly was also toppled. He was on the top of the cable news world. Whatever you thought of Bill O'Reilly and cable news, he was on top of that that cable news show world. And I remember a quote about Bill O'Reilly thinking he was protected. He felt that God was protecting him. And it just shows you that, we're not protected in this world. Got to be like, play it safe, play it perfect. Not MGTOW, but smart. So, the Mike Pence rule may be wise. Mike Pence, famously, kind of like Billy Graham, I believe, would not be alone in a room with a woman who was not his wife. Some people may think that that's extreme. A lot of the liberal feminists do. But it protects you not from from the temptation, right? But also from accusations. False accusations are very rampant, contrary to what the feminists will tell you. Very rampant. And anybody, well, Jesse can attest to it because he's counseled a lot of guys who've been falsely accused in like divorce court and stuff like that. They make all kinds of nasty accusations. And so like every man is a sexual predator, a child pedophile, a rapist, all that stuff, according to the brainwashing. So men are like extra guarded and can't even be natural around women. The normal guys can, the alpha males can, but the rest of the males, they're trained to be total kiss-ups and keep a distance, and it's madness. It's a mess. So, men's forum last week was awesome, by the way. The men's forum, first Thursday of the month, rebuildingtheman.com/men. Sometimes we write up about it. I didn't write it up about this time. We showed pictures. I showed pictures on my show, and Jesse showed pictures on his radio show Friday. I do have a few of them. I could put some up. I could show some. I'm going to get to a call, but you can be showing them, Joel. Some nice men's forum pictures. Scott from Chicago, thanks for holding. First-time caller. Illinois.
Hey, James, how are you today?
Fine. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you very much.
Right on.
I wanted to comment on this Chai Kam-Yang that's trying to run for president, and it's kind of frustrating.
Chai-Kam. Define Chai-Kam. Define Chai-Kam.
Chinese communist.
Okay. Yeah, he's Taiwanese, but they call that Chinese. The Chinese people call that China, right? I think so. Anyways.
True.
Yeah. He's an anchor baby. He was born in New York, but his parents are Taiwanese immigrants going to grad school, according to Wikipedia. Just interesting side note. Makes him an anchor baby. Anyways, yeah, he definitely has communist ideas, and he acts like he's more reasonable and less of a politician than many of the other Democrats, but he's no good. Look at the nice men's forum pictures. Cool. Anyway, go on, Scott. Sorry, I interrupted
I just wanted to comment how the same folks who are supporting him are the ones that are calling Trump an embarrassment. And here you have a guy who's crowd surfing at his events and crying like a little girl over stupid stuff.
He crowd surfed?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, Jesse even played the video. He was like totally surfing the crowd.
Is his middle name Beto? What is up with these? What is up with these Gen X guys running for office? That's embarrassing. And you know, I'm a millennial, Gen X millennial, basically. But
I'm a little older than that, but yeah, I'm just shocked. I didn't think I'd ever see anything like this. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yep.
And what's even to me additionally disappointing is I can't even read any of the news anymore, even on Drudge. It's getting ridiculous. Just a little while ago.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so a little while ago, you know how they're always trying to attack Trump, not Drudge, but the media is continually trying to attack Drudge.
Right.
And just recently...
Attack Drudge or Trump? The media is trying
to... Attack Trump.
Okay.
I'm sorry, attacking Trump. But, you know, when you go on Drudge a few weeks back, they were pushing this whole narrative on the recession. And and then now that's dying out, and now they're pushing this whole blue wave thing, how we're going to lose Texas. And we can't avoid the fake news no matter where we go. And the only other, you know, news we're getting on Drudge is about mutant cats with human faces. It's a joke. It's like, you know, there's no real news anymore.
You know, yeah, Drudge, right? He aggregates the news, or those people aggregate the news, whoever runs the site, and aggregates kind of what the media is talking about. That's how I take it. And so, yeah, sometimes I'll even, you know, most of my Hake news is taken from Drudge links, Drudge headlines, and I do notice that they are pushing this. It's basically, I see it as Drudge reporting on the media scare tactics about the economy, and who knows what's going on with that, and about whatever else, you know, this Texas is turning blue and stuff like that. And I'm okay with that, but I mean, I'm not really before reading Hake News and before being producer for Jesse's show, I hardly paid attention to the news. I would get my news basically from the Jesse Lee Peterson show when I was a listener, and that was basically from 07, 08, 2010 through 2013 when I quit my job and became producer. But prior to that, even during producer, sometimes I wouldn't pay that much attention to the news. You guys would sometimes know more than me. So I was never really a news fiend. So it doesn't really... I don't really notice it like you've noticed it. But yeah, I definitely understand that Drudge is kind of promoting what they're talking about, but to me it's showing what the liberal media is talking about. That's how I take it.
Do you think that it's also to try to get the Republican base motivated based upon the fact that kind of scaring us in a way to try to get motivated to support Trump? And
I don't know. You know, I couldn't read his mind. I can't really comment on that. He seems like a good guy. I've heard him when he had his Fox News show. I heard one interview because he used to Matt Drudge used to have a Fox News show way back, and then I've heard him on in another interview more recently. He seems like a nice guy, a good guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the reasoning is. Like I said, all I see it as, the only way I use it is as a sign, a show of what the media is talking about. That's all I take it as. I don't see it as he's trying to light a fire under us or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
One other quick question for you. You know, all these Republicans that are starting to announce that they're going to run in the Republican primary. Recently, the child molester from North Carolina, Sanford.
Why do you call him a child molester?
But didn't he go down to Mexico and had some kind of affair with some underage girl or something like that?
I don't know.
I
don't know. Why would you call him a child molester if you don't know for sure?
Well, you're right. That's not fair. You're correct.
Yeah.
But I believe he had some kind of affair down in Mexico and had all kind of problems.
I don't know, man. I don't like repeating stuff like that if you don't know. And even then, it's like, to me, it's a shame to repeat that stuff, especially if he didn't admit to it or brag about it or something else. You know, because I'm okay with I'm okay with talking about people that brag about being homosexual or transgender, like Pete Buttigieg, because he brags about it. He makes it as though it's okay when it's not. He, you know, and then he trashes Christians as though they're the ones who are wrong. In some cases, Christians do get stuff wrong, but he's like worse, you know, and he's promoting evil. But Sanford, I don't know much of anything about him because, you know, I just don't pay that much attention. But I really don't like repeating accusations or reports. Even this Harvey Weinstein thing, I'm not into repeating the accusations against him or Bill O'Reilly or Bill Cosby or even Epstein, partly because I'm not interested in it and partly because we don't know the truth. And I think even the people that have researched it deeply don't actually know the truth. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's almost impossible to fully know the truth.
To me, it's like
anything,
gossip.
though.
It's gossip and rumors. I like to stick with what has come out of their mouths, how they've acted, and stuff like that. I like to see the person. Like, that's why I can't really judge, you know, the people who died before I got to be around, because I can't see them acting. You know, I can't see how they were. Just because somebody supported slavery doesn't make them good or bad. And just because, you know, all those things. But people like to get on their high horse and judge people about stuff that they hear about them rather than looking at the person and how they are. That's how I look at Trump. Like, I look at him and how he is, and then the reports about him and what he's done and said, I take those like with a grain of salt.
Right.
And like Obama, I was able to, like, I believe accurately judge Obama as a fake because you just look at him, he's fake. The way that he talked, it was that fake joyfulness, mocking the Tea Party and stuff like that. He was a fake, whereas if you just listened to the stuff that he did, you could go any which way on whether he was a good president or not. But no, he was evil because you could see the evil coming out of him.
I think if you're a politician, that you put yourself out there for speculation.
You do, but that doesn't make it right for us as men to speculate, especially when men are going down based on speculation. And I'm talking about decent men. I don't want good or evil men to go down based on speculation. I want them to go down or up based on the truth and what's right and what we know. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but you know, something smells funny when someone was a conservative, the way they were when they were in political office. They fall into a scandal of some sort, and then they come back and they're anti-Trump, they're anti-Republican Party, they're trying to break us up. I mean, I don't think they should get away with that without some kind of criticism.
Yeah, that's good. I love, like, look, I will criticize Mark Sanford, as Jesse says, until the cows come home, because he has shown himself to be anti-Trump, and anybody who's anti-Trump, I'm anti them. Because
I agree.
Yeah, even though he said he's right about like the debt is a big concern, and Trump really drastically raised the debt. Most of that was him making deals in order to rebuild the military, I think. And then he cut taxes, which was smart. And then in the second term, I think he's going to be focusing on the debt when he gets reelected and bringing that down. We'll see what happens.
He can't do that unless he wins back the House. If you can't win back the House and keep the Senate, you can't do anything about the debt because your budgets are going to carry forward from the previous House that voted on those.
Yeah.
He's got to have people in Congress that will agree to his plan in order to reduce our debt and our deficit.
Well, he actually surprises people. You know, I noticed that when that horrible Democrat, who's maybe less horrible than many of the others, Doug Jones was elected over Roy Moore after they trashed Roy Moore over speculation, right? Roy Moore noticed, no, not Roy Moore, Doug Jones noticed, as Dr. Ben Carson noticed, Secretary of HUD, that Trump really listens. he listens, and he is intent, and he makes great deals or good deals, the best that he can. And he's won over Democrats before, at least the reasonable ones. And even when he hasn't won them over, he's used them against themselves to his own advantage. So I think that there's nothing that we can do as being us other than elect the right people, vote for the right people about this whole debt thing. But I think I'm confident with Trump there that he'll do his best to do what's right regarding the country. So anyways, Scott, nice talking with you, man.
You too. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care. He brought up Andrew Yang, and it is so funny to me, this overreaction to Jesse Lee Peterson telling Andrew Yang to go back, or saying that Andrew Yang should go back to China or wherever he's from, Taiwan. It's just so funny to me, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The Taiwanese I do not trust. The Hong Kongese people I do not trust. The Chinese people I do not trust. I don't trust any of them. I don't particularly care what happens with them because that's their concern. It's not up to me, and it's not up to America. All these Hong Kong protesters are asking Trump for help, liberate us. I don't know what they're into. They could be communist light, China is communist, right? Supposedly. They believe in Marxism. They literally believe in Marxism. I've seen the quotes. They say Marxism. Believe it or not. I thought they were ethnocentric, but somehow they think Karl Marx has good ideas. He's not Chinese. But anyways, these Taiwanese people, even though Taiwan is pretty successful, it got into capitalism to a point. They try to be independent of China, which I respect that. I support their push to be independent of China. Unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure China wants to claim Taiwan as their own, and Taiwan wants to claim that they're independent, and I think that most of the world acts like Taiwan is independent of China. But these people that come here, these students, I've met at least one PhD student from Taiwan. Maybe was born here, anchor baby, huh? And this man too, Andrew Yang, is an anchor baby. And he's the least worst Democrat, maybe. Maybe he's one of the bad ones too. But he struck me as a little bit less politician-y, a little bit more genuine of a person. Until he cried about the gun control thing. Ridiculous. I was just imagining my child getting killed. And he's like, pretending like he was crying. I remember Obama cried. Remember that? Oh my gosh. Obama cried when he didn't get his gun control that he wanted. Gun control is always a negative thing. If I use that word gun control, unless it's referring to like proper control of a gun, it always carries a negative denotation or connotation or whatever the word is. So these fake liberal, female-minded Democrat politicians like Andrew Yang, Barack Obama, POCs are just trying to appeal to the women, like I've said yesterday on Hake channel, that it's pathetic, it's fake, and that's when I got kind of disillusioned by Andrew Yang. Plus, I wasn't into his free $1,000 for everybody thing, because that is, who supported that was the El Paso shooter, the eco-fascist El Paso terrorist who shot up the Walmart with the Mexicans in it. Andrew Yang was for $1,000 a month, the universal basic income that the El Paso shooter wanted. He was no conservative. He was no right-winger. The only thing that he was a nationalist, which I do support nationalism. And he was right that the immigration issue is an issue, but he was wrong that it's contributing to overpopulation. I don't know if he was wrong, but I call that unsubstantiated. Let's call it that. I don't buy it. This overpopulation nonsense that the El Paso shooter thinks the immigrants who are coming into the country having way too many babies mostly out of wedlock, by the way, are polluting the country and the world, and they're taking up all the jobs, and the jobs are going away due to automation. Another Yang-ism. Andrew Yang blames automation, not immigration, for the jobs going away. But the jobs are unquestionably, it's not even up for debate that the jobs are going away due to immigration. Yes, automation is an issue, right? But it's just a reality of life. But the immigration does not have to be a reality of life. We don't have to be bringing in all these people. But another issue with the immigration is the native-borns, especially the whites, are not having enough babies. So we should be having white babies instead of immigrants and their babies, and anchor babies, and refugee babies. So it's a big mess. Andrew Yang is a product of all that. He's a useful idiot making more useful idiots. And so I just like how Jesse told him go back where his ideas did not work. I don't know what we should do about automation. Just, I don't know, make yourself useful. Get rid of minimum wage. That could drive down the cost of living, the cost of items, and then people could take odd jobs. $2 an hour, old people might want to, pump your gas for you. In California, it's all self-serve. There's no full-service gas stations. Some of you guys have never heard of that. Like, you guys come in here, you don't even know how to pump your own gas. That's one thing that Californians are independent at, pumping their own gas. Maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe only in New Jersey is it full service? Okay, whatever. Anyways, let me get to some calls before I finish up. Dan, out of Phoenix, Arizona, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
Are you the South African guy?
Yeah, I was born in South Africa, but I was raised in England, yes. The perfect listener.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anyways, what's your question or comment? We got 2 minutes.
Well, it's just about Andrew Yang, really, and he's come here.
Yeah.
Well, he was born here, I know.
Right. As an anchor baby.
The arrogance. Yeah, an anchor baby. It's the arrogance of trying to change what's right about America. When I came here, I had to assimilate. I disliked guns, for example.
Yeah.
Because you're brainwashed in Britain, to hate guns.
Yeah.
But I thought, look, I've got to give it some time. I've got to make the effort.
Yep.
To kind of understand America. And once I researched it, 2 weeks later, I am pro-gun.
Nice.
And in fact, I went into the firearms industry. But so that's what really gets me. It really irritates me that they do this. They try and tear down what made America great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally do. You're talking about the legal immigrants.
Sorry?
You're talking about the legal immigrants, like Yang's parents. Yang himself could be even considered an immigrant. Should be. Unless his parents were citizens by the time they had him. I don't know. But even then, it's very leery. You're right. We are bringing in, and we're raising them too. Our education system is raising young commies who form lynch mobs to lynch Christians and whites and anybody who doesn't hate Christians and whites.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a shame. And men. Yeah, go for it.
So, James, do you ever, on your travels, do you talk to young people who've just left school?
Occasionally, man. We're going to have to continue this conversation tomorrow on the show.
Okay, no problems. I'll call you again.
All right, appreciate it, Dan. Nice to talk with you. Take care.
Thanks a lot, James.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We are going to be live all this week. I hopefully will not need Jesse Lee Peterson to fill in for me anymore this week. And so you're going to have me this whole time. Cool, huh? And we'll see you tomorrow. And make sure, if you didn't, check out The Fallen State from, Dylon's episode. And, of course, Church with Jesse Lee Peterson was excellent about millennials. I kind of relate. All right, take care, guys.